Hi guys, in this video I will give you a secret, really secret essay writing trick that your professor will never teach you, and I will show you why your professor will actually never teach you this particular essay trick. And it is a little bit sneaky, and it is a little bit and it is a little tricky as well, and I will show you everything about it. Now here's what it is that you're really trying to do when you're writing an essay. Well, what you're trying to do is you're trying to take your essay assignment description, right? This is your assignment description, and you're trying to turn it into an essay. That's essentially all it is that you're doing. So in this video, I will show you how to do that, how to turn this short statement of your assignment description into a full essay, no matter how long the essay should be. If it's 300 words, no problem. If it's 30 pages, you follow the same process. You're just going to be breaking it down a little bit more in order to write more sections. You're just going to have more sections. But this is essentially what I'm showing you. Now, let's take a look at this assignment. This is a real assignment from from a class at a university, but this is from a long time ago, so I don't even remember which class this was for. Probably literature, because this is Othello. We're talking about Shakespeare's play. Let's dive right into it, and let's see how we can turn this into a complete essay. All we need to do is really structure it out, and then once we've structured it, basically once we've outlined it, we just need to write it. I'm not going to write the whole essay because there's a lot going on here, but I'll show you how to structure it so that you could write it a lot more easily. And I'll show you why this is really a trick, and it is. Now, let's take a look. Let's take a detailed look at this assignment. Describe the atmosphere of the setting of the play Othello in terms of race, gender, and social status. Now, what is jumping out at you right away? There are three things here: race, gender, and social status. Okay, great. So this is perfectly in accord with the power of three that I teach. Okay, so we already have three things that we know we can easily divide this essay into. Now, let's read the next sentence. What are your observations? Interesting, right? What are your observations? And let's read the next one. What are some of the possible implications of the culmination of this play? So let's notice something right away. This essay is going to be about two things: the atmosphere of the setting of the play Othello, in terms of these three things, and is going to be about the ending of the play. The culmination means the ending. It's really about these two things: the atmosphere of the play, the atmosphere of the setting of the play, and the ending of the play, which are two different things. Which really means that this essay must, of necessity, be divided into two parts. Just because these are two completely different subjects. Your professor is asking you to write an essay on two different subjects about the same thing, about Othello, but these are two different aspects of the play: the atmosphere and the ending. Two different things. Therefore, we have two different sections necessarily right there. So what I'm showing you right now is how your professor has actually outlined your essay for you already. It's already outlined for you by your professor. Now, here's something. So these are two parts. Part one, describe the atmosphere. What are your observations? This is all part one. And part two is what are some of the possible implications of the culmination of the play. Okay. Let's look at this second sentence. What are your observations? See, he says, describe the atmosphere of the setting. What are your observations? Is observations going to be a separate section in this essay? In other words, are you going to describe the atmosphere of the setting in terms of race, gender, and social status, and then you're going to go ahead and write your observations after that? No. Here's something that you really need to be careful about, and you really need to think really clearly when you are using your professor, when you're really interpreting your professor's assignment. Here, what are your observations? What are your observations? Well, you see, when you're describing the atmosphere or whatever it is that you're describing, what are you really describing? You are describing your observations. This is not different from the description, because you're just describing your observations, you see? To describe means to write out, etymologically. Scribe means write in Latin, right? You observe means to see. So just write what you see. That's it. That's all he's saying. So instead of, you see, we could actually just get rid of the statement completely, this one, the second sentence, and it's over, it's gone. Why? Because we're just describing the observations. That's exactly what we're describing. Once we're done describing, we need to talk about, once we're done with the atmosphere, we need to talk about the possible implications. So here's what we did. I took out something that was totally unnecessary in this writing assignment. Okay, so that it doesn't throw you off. It's unnecessary because I'm already, well, I don't want to repeat myself, but you already understand. If you're describing something, what else could you possibly be describing if not your observations? Okay? Now, let's take this literal assignment and let's divide it into parts. You see, this is going to be part 1 and this is going to be part 2, meaning section 1, section 2. There's no question about it. It's right. It's right here. I'm already outlining using the professor's, and I'm not even writing anything. I'm just using the professor's assignment description to create my essay outline. You see that? Now, it says describe the atmosphere of the setting of the play, Othello, in terms of race, gender, and social status. Look what I'm doing here. In terms of, and I'm going to put a colon. Race, guess what I'm going to do next? Okay, you know what? This has to be indented. Race, gender, and what? And social status. Now, how come? Why is it that I'm able to do this? I am able to do this because race, gender, and social status are 3 things that are completely different from one another. They're completely different from one another. There's no question about it. You see, before, you remember, description was really not different from describing your observations. That's why I took out observations so that it doesn't distract me. So I don't go here and don't create another section called my observations. This is, if I did that, this would totally throw me off because I would have written everything that I understand already about the atmosphere, and now when I come to my observations, I would be completely struggling. What in the world do I write here? Why? Because I already wrote all my observations here. These are my observations actually. You see? That's why I did not do that. I did not create a separate section for my observations. All of my observations are going to be here in this section. These are all my observations. In fact, I could even, for your ease, for your kind of, if you're a little uneasy about deleting something, look, describe your observations about, okay, and that's it. There we go. Describe your observations about the atmosphere of the setting of the play in terms of race. So, section 1 is going to be about these 3 things. Describe your observations about the atmosphere in terms of race. Then in terms of gender and in terms of social status. Okay, race. Okay, yes, it seems the place where the play takes place seems to have a racism. Okay, racism seems present. Let's put it this way. Racism seems present here. Yes. In this town, in the city. Yes. Okay, and now you explain why and how come and so on and so on. Gender. It is a patriarchal, no question about it. It seems to be, or it really is. It is a patriarchal. It is a totally patriarchal society. How do we know that? Well, we know because Desdemona completely submits to the will of her father, and she's struggling between how to submit to the will of her father and to the will of her, her lover. So she's always she's struggling for that. She's not really, she's not struggling for any kind of independence or anything, but she's very, very in the power of she's influenced by the power of men right there. Okay, anyway, let's not get into all the specifics. It doesn't really matter. I'm just showing you how to structure this. Now, social status. Social status is one of the key determinants. It is one of the key determinants of a quality of life, or whatever, life quality. Let's put it that way, of quality of life, of the quality of life. Let's just put it that way. It's not really a very good statement, okay, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that I already know how to structure this essay. Now, what are some of the possible implications of the culmination of the play? Here you see, in the previous section, the professor gave us 3 things: race, gender, and social status. Now, and that gave us 3 subsections very easily right there. Now here, all we need to do, I would say, use the power of 3. What are some of the possible implications of the culmination of this play? Okay, spoiler alert. Okay, this play ends in Othello strangling Desdemona. Okay, now that is, what are the implications of that? What you can actually do, you can actually take race, gender, and social status to discuss the implications of the culmination. What are the racial implications? Okay, gender implications, and then you can do social status implications. Or if you want, you could even skip on this one, social status. But if you find good evidence for social status, do it that way. See, there's no problem with it whatsoever. The professor already gave you race, gender, social status, so use race, gender, social status in section 2 as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, the professor would actually probably love for you to structure the second part this way. It's just that the professor, it didn't occur to the professor to specify it this way. But you see how we just turned an assignment description into a full outline of an essay, just like that. And we hardly even had to add anything. We didn't even add anything. We just broke it down into, you see, we just took it and just broke it down into pieces. But what we had to do, we had to take out this observations part to make sure that we don't make that mistake, so we don't waste our brain power on trying to figure out what are my observations. So don't worry about it. Everything is your observations. Okay, just keep moving. Okay, all right. So this is how I would always approach, and this is how I teach approaching an essay assignment. Now, I have a request, actually. I have a request from a subscriber. Let's take a look at the request. Okay, I already did a topic for the subscriber. Previously, I made a video to help out the subscriber. Now, look, you see the subscriber is asking, she has a new essay to write. Community service worker, value and ethics and their importance. That's it. That's pretty much the essay. And I have to make 4 to 6 pages for this essay. Hope you have the time. Yay, no problem. Listen, I do this all day long. Okay. Great. Let's take a look at it. You see? Now, I already showed you the trick. Your professor will not teach you how to do that. Why? Because, for whatever reason, the professor may not even know that this trick exists. But here it is. This one is simple, but it's also tricky. Why is it tricky? Remember how in the previous one here, we put together description and observations. Instead of saying describe this and then write your observations, we didn't go that route. We said, okay, you know what? No, everything is my observations. So I'm just going to describe my observations. Oh, we already went through that. Now, let's look here. Community service worker values and ethics and their importance. It seems, it's something very tricky here. It seems that values and ethics are two separate things. It seems that way. It seems that way that we would do it this way. You see? And their importance. Values, ethics, and their importance. But I wouldn't do it this way. Absolutely not. Why not? Why do you think I wouldn't do it this way? I would not do it this way because what is the difference between values and ethics? What is the difference between values and ethics? Now, if you want to be really precise, and for example, I understand the difference. I personally understand the difference between ethics is a whole kind of area of study in philosophy. Values are not quite as broad. But here's the thing. When the professor, and here's the tricky part, one of the reasons the professor will not teach you this trick is that the professor is not crystal clear on her own assignment. Not crystal clear. I would never give such an assignment. I would pick one. I would say either values or ethics. But I would never say, let's go back here. I would never say community service worker, describe community service worker values and ethics, because this would imply that values and ethics are different from one another in this essay. Well, yes, they are in the real world in philosophy. They are, of course, different from one another, but not in this essay. Now, if I research this topic, let's say, for example, let's say social work, values and ethics. You see, what I'm going to find is that the following broad ethical principles, they all clumped into one. Code of ethics. Now, what values do social workers have? You see values, 7 principles. Let's take a look at this one. I looked at it previously. See, the title says 6 core social work values and ethics. So you would think that they are values and ethics, and the author of this essay, of this article, is going to separate values from ethics. But that's not what happens. Just like I had suspected, they're actually lumped together. You see, 6 ethical principles of social work. There's no difference between ethics and values. No, they're all together. There are just 6 ethical principles. You see, service, social justice, dignity and worth of the person, and so on, whatever they may be. Therefore, instead of treating it as values and ethics as separate things, here's what I would do. Ethical values. Community service worker ethical values and their importance. You see? Now it becomes so much easier. So basically, so much easier, because basically what it is you're doing, you're writing an essay about community service worker ethical values and their importance. Let's say that you do your research and it turns out that you have, you find these 6 principles or whatever they may be. You need to do your research because you need to understand how many ethical values actually exist for community service workers. Or if you have to come up with your own, you come up with your own, whatever it is, however many that it is that you need. But now, how to turn this into an essay. Okay, community service worker ethical values and their, okay, you see, this is a legitimate and their importance. So in effect, here is what you do, and this is very easy. In fact, I'm going to do it this way. Ethical value 1 and, okay, this is, okay, ethical value 1. What are you going to do? Describe the value? Okay, describe, not describe, but describe the ethical value and explain its importance. This, in fact, this is going to be the what part. This is going to be the why part, you see? And that's it. And just continue, do exactly the same thing. How many did we come up with? You see, there are 6 ethical principles. Let's say, for example, in your research, you see that there are 6 ethical principles. Okay, so this is ethical value 1. We just repeat the process. Ethical value 2. Let's say we only have 3. Okay, oh, oops, no, nope, that's not what I wanted. We'll go here, yes, ethical value 3. And proceed exactly the same way, and finally you do a conclusion if you have to. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. So let's say if you have 5, you're going to have, you just continue the procedure. It doesn't really matter. Here's your number 4, and okay, and here's your number 5 if you want to. Okay, that's it. So your thesis statement is going to be about these values. You say the community social worker ethical, 6 ethical values exist for community service workers, or community service workers subscribe to 6 ethical values because of their importance. And then you can, basically you would say something like that, and then you just enumerate them, and this is how you structure your essay. You have as many sections as you have the ethical values, and each section has 2 subsections. What is the value and what is its importance? That's it. And there you go. This is how you tackle this essay topic. Okay, and that's exactly the secret essay trick that your professor will never teach you, because the professor is not always crystal clear on her own assignment. You see, she will tell you, yes, describe the social work values and ethics, but in the end, it turns out to be just 6 ethical principles. They're not different. The values are just not different from your ethics. Okay, there we go. I included this video is about how to start writing an essay, and what I did, I put together a little playlist of videos on how to get started writing an essay. Okay, if you're procrastinating on the essay, if you don't know how to get started on writing this particular one, whatever it may be, just click on this one, click on this playlist, and just go. It has just a few videos on it, like 6 or 7 videos. Follow each and every one of them, and you're going to really learn how to do this. You're really going to learn how to turn your assignment into a perfect structure for your essay. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.